Chapter 6, Section 3, General Fighting Guidelines. 614, planning prior to the fire, the potential hazards surrounding the fire involved with nuclear weapons, protective measures which can be taken very widely. The time during the fire that can be fought by detonation of the high expensive explosive component because of the possibility with the critical in some cases, therefore it may be important with the situation in which the weapon may be involved with the fire and to anticipate with the maximum extent feasible written with the plans of the action, standing, operated, and procedures should be prepared and should be familiar with it all personnel who may become involved. 615 emergency procedures. The first observer of the fire should assist the immediate with the assistance personnel with whoever possible, however, except for the saving the lives, keeping away from the fire. There is always the danger of detonation of the high explosive component with the remaining uphill for the fire and saving lives with use of any available method of preventing smoke from entering the eyes, the nose, and the throat. B. The report of the fire immediately to the nearest fire department when the military and the municipal upon the arrival of the scene. The policy in the fire department, the military, and municipal should be asked to notify the nearest military installation or atomic energy commission office. 616 General Procedures. The technique of the firefighting with the nuclear weapons involved with the basically same as those of the firefighting involved with the high explosive. The critical factors, the brief time available to extinguish the control, the time of the fire of the nuclear weapon is involved in the flame. Therefore, the teamwork of the quick application of the current with the firefighting operational procedures are vital. Successful fighting of such a series, determining the primary consideration, determining what the fight of the fire is, how soon it will the explosion occur. Cleaning of the area. One of the first actions to involve any of the fire involving nuclear weapons is to clear the area of all personnel not actually needed to engage for the firefighting operation. When nuclear weapons are involved, the minimum clearance is distance is 2,000 feet, even the distance injury flying objects is possible. Time factor. In the fire, the impact does not immediately detonate with the high explosive. The period of the time available to fight for the fire before the detonation might occur, but varies from the few minutes of the indefined period depending on the physical characteristics of the weapon casing and the intensity of the proximity of the fire. When the weapon is enveloped in the flame, subject to the high heat and the conjunction of the convention of the radiation and heat injury, the type of the fire is critical. When burning, high explosives are confined with it as an intact weapon. Detonation of the high explosive may occur at any time. 3. When intact weapons may come heated within cannot be touched with the bare hand, is vulnerable in detonation of the high explosive component. When an explosion is imminent, all personnel will be cleared at least 2,000 feet from the fire, and the personnel will not attempt to fight the fire. 5. If the weapon is in an area adjacent to the fire, not involved with flames, personnel should attempt to cool the weapon while extinguishing the fire. B. Safety measures. The standard fireman bunking the clothing of the boot and the elements, boot, helmet, and provided with adequate shielding against the alpha radiation which may be present. Self-contained breathing apparatus, tight-fitting goggles should be worn if and all possible. The fact that some of all these items are not available should not hold up operation necessary for the rescue of the personnel. Attacking the fire. A decision made by attacking the fire with the senior fire department officer must make the decision rapidly. If available to supply with water, extinguishing agents adequately, it must be possible to cool the weapon with the water fog with extinguishing the main fire at the same time. If the water supply is such that the cooling and the extinguishing operation cannot be accomplished, it appears that the fire, the extinguishing controlled at the point at which the heat observed by the weapon will not exceed safe limitations. Maybe advantages to use available water on the fire itself. Approach the fire from the upwind at the maximum angle to any armament with the might of the involved. For instance, since the heat of the flames, the might and fire do not approach directly to the light of guns and rockets and missiles in the nose and tail and wings of the wrecked aircraft. This approach should afford the maximum effective application of the extinguishing agent within critical area, permitting rapid withdrawal with man equipment. 2. The most important thing to cool with the high explosive is to secure the control of the fuel or exploding fire quickly and the weapons are located, but the cool is the entire surface within the available extinguishing agent. 3. Water is the most efficient agent for cooling the weapon for extinguishing for the fire involving the high explosive application of a fog spray is desirable. High pressure application can be dangerous, so they can be scattered explosives such as many encountered with the damaged weapon. 4. The foam is mixed as a wet mix. Effectively, we use to extinguish the explosive. The disadvantage for the use of it is not good cooling agent. The water that conceals but the extinguishing, but still the danger in the dangerous residue of the concealment. The increase the probability of sensitivity to explosive will be stepped upon. Increase the difficulty of cleaning up the fire. Insulating the quality of the foam may be used effectively to a shield, cooling weapon from the flame of the heat before the insulation quality, reducing the cooling effect. Foam, especially with the protein type, will not be applied to the hot weapon if the other agents available. High explosive materials have all oxygen necessary for the combustion, including their chemistry composition. Therefore, to dry powder, carbon dioxide, other agents for the extinguishing fire smoother than the displacement of the oxygen are not effective with extinguishing fires in explosive. The extinguishing agents can be, however, be used to gain control of the fuel fires, whether permitted with the containing of the burning with the involved the weapon. Other initiating firefighting is evacuation. Firefighting personnel required that they will withdraw immediately upon order of the senior firefighter department of the office. The possible equipment will be also withdrawn. Minimum evacuation distance of 1,200 feet for the firefighters related to the support personnel. F. Actions for fire extinguishment. Immediately upon extinguishment of the fire, all personnel will withdraw a minimum of the distance of 2,000 feet. There are with it which are weapons located with the keep clear of all personnel, other specially trained for the disposal of decontamination teams until the designated safe by the agencies have been responsibility. When the fire extinguished with the personnel, all equipment may have been contaminated with the smoke of the burning of the atomic weapon. Congregated items. Congregated, isolated where areas less than 2,000 feet from the weapon. The isolation is necessary to prevent possible contamination. Other maintained until the release is used. Authorizing specially trained equipment monitoring decontamination devices. Section 4. Fires involving nuclear weapons. 617. Storage fires. A. Generally, weapon storage facilities will vary geographically. Normally, storage weapons will be used on one of the following: underground magazines and earth-covered igloo magazines. Outdoor storage, rudimentary storage. Fire potential weapon storage location restricting the use of flammable materials, flammable product devices, because of the restriction and high order supervision care required. Fire seldom of the weapon storage facilities. However, the certain failure potentials may be present and should be considered eliminated. Control with the potentials, including the building, electrical, forklift trucks, the electrical system, hydraulic system, brake drums are overheated with the storage hydraulic system, elevators, and grass and woodland. Procedures: when fire occurs with the weapon storage location, send someone to notify the fire department and other personnel as soon as possible. Apply the portable fighting equipment immediately while the firefighting is in incipient state to extinguish the fire or control the spread. 3. Remove the power of the electrical circuits when indicated with the remove the forklifts of the trucks and like the safe area with the remove all the weapons of the storage location, safe distance from the fire with the possible techniques. Procedure for the fire department's arrival and the consequences consolences of the paragraph 168, 15, and 616. Rail fires. Rail shipment fires may occur within any point of the routine of the shipment, along with the railheads interchange with the or spur of the shipping and the receiving the installation. Procedure for the dealing with the rail fires required with the rapid analysis of the situation. The following procedure will be taken: send someone to secure the aid of the motorized fire department. If possible, immediately apply with the portable, proptible firefighting equipment. Isolate the affected car or the other cars. Immediately inspect the interior of the car to see if it has been penetrated inside, possibly ignited in areas within the car. If the spark with the penetrate with the floor side of the car, the weapon is not enveloped in flame. Fight the fire with an availability of firefighting equipment. Water is preferable except for the flammable liquid fires with foams as indicated. Where sizes, items, and conditions permit moving the landing. When an explosion is imminent, evacuate all the personnel provided within 6A, 616E, and 616E, 6 and 616F. Transportation vehicle fires. Generally, the fire transportation vehicles may result with various carriers. Most common cause of the vehicle fires alter electrical short circuit, the collision of overheated brakes, overheated tires, improper fueling techniques, broken fuel lines, careless smoking habits, and like. The plan of action, because of the varied situation and location of the transportate vehicles involved with the fire, essentially for the courier and transportate devices that have mutually understood the plan of the action, procedures, and techniques that will be considered developing a plan for the action of the transportation vehicle fires. Every effort must be made to prevent the detonation of a high explosive component with weapon procedures, the techniques in paragraph 16, 615, and 16 may involve separation of burning the tractor with the van containing with the weapons using the portable fire extinguisher equipment depending on the arrival of the motorized fire department and unloading the weapon from the vehicle. Procedures and techniques. Alright, so in some instances, such as fire involving substantial spillage of flammable liquids, other involving liquid petroleum fires, under the other circumstances, it may be evident that there is no way of keeping the weapon cool enough to avoid detonation of the high explosive component. In such cases, the utmost effort must be directed toward the evacuation of all personnel from the area on an open highway. Immediately, action be taken against established roadblocks at a safe distance. Minimum distance is 2,000 feet, no less than 3/4 of a mile. 620. Tactic vehicle fires. Generally, a tactical vehicle transportation weapon will vary for the type capacity, the degree of protection provided with the torque body and facility with the weapon which may be removed. Procedure and techniques fire involving the tactical vehicles will vary in origin, therefore, depending on the degree of seriousness of the fire, location of the fire in relation with the weapon, potential involvement of the weapon itself. The verifying the techniques will need to employ with the combating the fire of the situation may be in dictative evacuation of the area. Under some tactical circumstances, extreme measure may be needed which ignore the safety of the personnel required to fight the fire. The local commander will determine the action to take under certain emergency conditions. 1. In general, the principles and procedures prescribed in paragraphs 616 and 619 apply to the firefighting fires involving nuclear weapon and tactical vehicles. Some instances, the weapon is tactical vehicles attached with a complete missile with the rocket and propulsive, the non-propulsive state. When the fire involves the carrying of the valve with the launcher, maximum effort directed and unloaded with the vehicle and is isolating the complete weapon from the fire is not possible. The vehicle launcher is directed in such a manner that the motor ignites the rocket with the impinges the solid earth mass of the mountain hill with the other terrain, such as to produce the least of the possible damage to the life and property. Missile fires, guidance for the handling fires and the complete missiles carried out the tactical vehicles elsewhere in paragraph 622. 621. Weapon operation fires. Fires near weapons have been processed will vary in magnitude, source, and type. Generally, the electrical fire is more likely to occur during the electrical testing and electrical monitoring of the weapon. The fire may occur in the warhead section, capable of leading the weapon for the testing equipment in situations sensitive to the urgency. Responsibility for must prevail with the tendency to panic must overcome the imparting of the knowledge of the skill through the training of the supervision. Procedures and techniques the following will apply with all weapons and not in shipping containers. Emergency fighter fighting equipment must be immediately used for the firefight while the fire is in incipient state. In every case, the effort will be made to bring motorized fire department equipment to the plane before the fire endangers the weapon. 2. When electrical fires may be dealt with rapidly with a sense of urgency, the knowledge and responsibility personal electrical fires of weapon system present in a serious condition will not immediately brought under the control with a gravely affected by the safety of the personnel, operation of the facility, and emplacement. 3. One of the first steps of combating electrical fire will remove the power from the weapon tester in which it is applicable. 4. If the smoke and the flames are emanate from the wire with the weapon and with the CO2 with extinguish any of the flames which may be present, with the possibility of the flames developing in the extremely remote, smoke will be accepted with the overheat with the components of the cable usually resulting from the short circuit. Since the smoke from the electrical apparatus may be toxic, necessary measures may be taken to prevent breathing from the toxic fumes. 622. Missile fires with or without warheads. When flammable explosive components guided with the missiles and heavy rockets are properly stored with themselves, fire prevention precaution, fire extinguisher procedure for the non-compliance of the proper type of the extinguished agent with a water foam with the carbon dioxide dry chemical for each of the components indicated with the missile training manual of the standard text. However, the missile is being placed in ready condition, each of the phase with the assembly, fueling, the warheading, placing with the flammable explosion components close to each other with the completely changed with the method of duration of the fire extinguisher acts in further compliance with the possibility of the recommendation of the extinguishing agent for one of the components may not be correctly for all the components involved. Generally, the following firefighting guidance for the type of the size, the design, missiling, and the procuring of the template, the establishing policy standards of the fire extinguisher method procedures, which will establish suitable for all type of the missiles. Each commander of a missile unit must have a detailed fire plan. Every member of the unit must know what must be done with any Given circumstances, evacuation. When fire occurs, all personnel essential to extinguish operation relocation of the other missiles evacuate the area at once. In air missiles, when an air missile fueled without warhead boosters, solid propellant motors, of other dangerous components is involved with the fire, all types of the extinguishing agents, plants might be used in the area. Exemption: straight water streams should not be directed against the burning magnesium if present because of the violent reaction splattering the molten metal will occur. Chemical extinguishers water will not affect the burning of the magnesium itself. May be used with extinguishing agent fire, assisting reducing the temperature of the magnesium below its ignition point. D. Particularly partially complete missiles. When partially and completely fueled liquid propellant missile, which warhead booster is involved in the fire, the largest possible volume of the water should be directed at the base of the fire. The foam should be usable flame liquids. The burning of the fuel of the fire is on the ground, and every effort will be made to prevent the involvement of the missile from the flashing of the burning of the way of the fuel fire. Relocating the missile. Also, the personnel will evacuate the area as soon as the following condition exists. 1. The surface of the missile missile starts to melt. 2. The brilliant white glow of the burning magnesium can be seen is ready and apparent with completing the destruction of the missile content. It cannot be prevented, but the condition of the missile cannot be determined because of the smoke and flames. Completing a missile. Although the risk assumed with the firefighting involved with the fueled and warhead missiles, aggressive action should be taken if it appears that the fire may be extinguished or controlled, but the extent of the missile will not be involved with the flames. If the fire is on the ground, the large volume of the waters of the foam should be used to flush any of the burning liquid away from the missile. If the sufficient water flow is available, the hose stream should be directed to the surface of the missile to the missile. The cool water should be used for the purpose when quantity of the water would available and prelude with the cooling and extinguishing at the same time. Alright, we skipped the aircraft, but page X aircraft firefighting, but there's a little bit on it. 623 aircraft fires generally produce the firefighting with the aircraft with the same whether nuclear weapons are carried out. Rescue of the personnel or primarily will proceed with the simultaneously fire control measures to determine the situation. A rapid survey must be made with the aircraft to determine the weapon is intact, and in all possibility visual survey of the weapon with the aircraft will be made. Knowledge of the weapon condition will aid the determining of the method of firefighting, time allowed to extinguishing, time allowed to accomplish the rescue operation as well as the firefighting. 3. The cooling of the temperature to be employed. Chapter 7. Miscellaneous fires.